Okay, we're back. We are back. Need some chapstick. Forgot. Okay. So if you caught part one, I only made it through 10 cases in 2 hours. So we are going to go from Charles Horvath Allen to Kaylene Oehling in this part 2 tonight. So I'm going to jump right in because I still have to go run an errand tonight. But yeah, I want to get this done, and I'm realizing that's going to take me quite a lot longer than I thought. So, and I have a busy week ahead of me and next week, and then I'm going on to Colorado in the middle of next week. So I want to try to get this a look back done before there's new updates that I need to get for all of these cases. So we're going to jump right in. Hello, Marbles. Hey, MB. Thank you for coming back. All right, here we are with Charles KJ Horvath Allen. He was 20 years old. He is still missing, and it is unsolved. This is a new poster that was created for Charles. This is an age progression of what he may look like in 2023. These are the photos, we have of him here. If you know something, say something. It's the Kelowna RCMP. The number is 250-762-3300. The file number, or we know them as case numbers, is 1989-21784. You can also call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. And Charles was 20 years old when he set out on a sightseeing trip across Canada, and that was in September of 1988. 8 months later, he disappeared, sight unseen. Charles cashed a check on May 26th of 1989 at Royal Canadian Bank in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada. Charles was registered for 10 days at Tiny Town Campground in Kelowna, and his belongings were left there and later collected by his mother from the RCMP, or actually, I think she might have gone to Tiny Town. This is a new GoFundMe, so please check out the GoFundMe is in the description. The GoFundMe started in a last-ditch effort to find Charles Horvath, who disappeared without a trace in Kelowna 34 years ago. Long-suffering Denise Allen is giving it one last final desperate shot. An online GoFundMe campaign has been started to raise $2,500 to help find out what happened to her son, Charles Horvath, who vanished into thin air in Kelowna 34 years ago. The GoFundMe is organized on behalf of Allen by a Vancouver-based Recover agency. It's a private organization that offers free help to find missing persons. The money will be used to update an age progression sketch by forensic artist Tim Whitten. set up and maintained an independent TipLine, print and distribute an updated poster across North America, and cover expenses of volunteer investigators to travel to Kelowna and conduct interviews. This is Charles and his mother, Miss Denise, who we met in the episodes A Mother's Steadfast Love. I hope you do go back and find those. It's a really, really good episodes. The campaign started this week as of Thursday morning, has raised $1,130 towards the $2,500 goal. Of course, all this kind of investigation, tip gathering, age progression sketches, and publicity has been done before, but there's never been any answers as to how and why the 20-year-old Englishman disappeared without a trace in Kelowna in May of 1989. While it is considered very much a cold case, the Kelowna RCMP keeps the case open under Serious Unit File Number 1989-21784, and the police urge anyone with any information to call 1-800-222-8477 or go to crimestoppers.net. Grieving Denise Allen, who has already made 15 trips to Kelowna from England over 29 years, pleading for information and keeping the case in the news, is making this last-ditch effort separate from the RCMP in conjunction with Recovery Agency and GoFundMe. Denise is now 73 and in declining health and wants to make this final attempt to find out what happened to her son and bring his remains home to be buried beside family members at a cemetery in Cambridge, England. Denise is no longer after vengeance or justice. I know that someone murdered Charles while he was in Kelowna in 1989, said Allen the last time she was in the city in September of 2018 for a news conference at Kelowna RCMP headquarters. His remains are out there somewhere. I know there are people out there who know what happened to Charles and are afraid to come forward. I'm appealing to them personally. To this day, Denise believes one of the strongest leads in the case is also one of the first. While Charles was staying at Tinytown Campground, which became the parking lot beside Cairo Beach, that is now the site of a condominium development, a gang of bikers from the U.S. stopped to stay and party on their way to Falkland Stampede. A tip later alluded to a polite Englishman being killed by a biker trying to earn a gang patch. Okay, that wasn't really the main part of what Denise and I talked about, but maybe something new has happened. Denise remembers Charles as a young and naive dreamer who set off from England to backpack across Canada. When he arrived in Kelowna in May of '89, he found a place to stay at Tinytown and landed a job at Flintstones, the long defunct amusement park that was at Highway 97 and McCurdy Road. Charles' last contact with his mom via fax on May 11th of 1989. The last time he was ever seen was May 26, '89 at the Royal Bank at Orchard Park, cashing a paycheck from Flintstones. All of Charles's belongings were still at Tinytown, a strong indication his disappearance was suspicious and possibly murder. The case has baffled police, Kelowna, and the world since. It is rare that a case goes unsolved for 34 years without the person being found either dead or alive. As such, the name Charles Horvath and his disappearance has entered Kelowna's consciousness. If you live in Kelowna or lived in the city at any point over the past 32 years, you've repeatedly heard of the case of the English lad who vanished without a trace. Denise now simply wants some sort of closure in finding her son's remains. So sad. Again, the GoFundMe, it is in the description. And Mrs. Allen, she was unable to make the trip to Kelowna due to those health conditions. I know it's been a struggle for her lately. She's lost her doggy and her husband, and she does have a lot of health issues, and she's unable to go, but I did email with the company, what was it called? Where was it? Well, I read it earlier in the article, sorry, but I did receive an email, Recover. They did do a sketch. I wasn't able to find a website or any kind of information about passing out of the flyers, but I did hear back from Anna James with Recover. And she said, "Hi, Mel. Thank you for your interest in this case. We are launching the investigation mid-February, so next month. So I don't have an update as such. I have already been to Kelowna twice to do research. TipLine is Kelowna RCMP and Core Crime Stalkers. Please send me a link when it's up." So this is the recovery agency that is helping, and this is the GoFundMe is for them. One last search. UK mom still looking for her son who disappeared in Kelowna 34 years ago. And this is the story that I just read. So I'm not going to read it again. And this is the age progression. There's the flyer that they've made. Yeah, so this was the article that I read. The tip line again is the RCMP Serious Crime Unit. And then the case file is 1989-21784. There's a Facebook group, again, link in the description. Miss Denise just really touched my heart. I can't imagine. And like Charles he started off on one end of Canada and made it almost to the other. He was to meet his mom for their birthday and he goes a trip to Africa. And she literally steadfastly has searched for her son all these years. And she did her own investigation, and they were able to find people in all along. Canada is pretty much uninhabitable, besides is it Providences along the US-Canada border. So starting in Montreal, I believe is where he started. And he ended up in Kelowna, which, so in what's right before Saskatchewan. But she was able to find people that Charles impacted along the way just because he was such a friendly, lovable guy, he was naive and young, obviously, in a country that is not his own. And almost at the end of his trip, literally so close before he was never seen again. The tiny town backs up right next to a river there in Kelowna. And the bikers, yes, I remember that was a part of my research and it was a part of it. But I remember we were kind of more concentrating with her help on the owner of Tiny Town. So, but someone in there knows. There was actually people that came forward and they had his tent in the back and the pictures. If you go into that episode, I've done I think 3 separate episodes for Charles. Please go check those out. Again, just think if that was your child, I have a 21-year-old and I can't imagine not having her just be missing, not knowing anything for 34 years in the future. That is just an unimaginable heartbreak. And this mother and son were very close. It's just very sad. I don't know why my phone keeps shutting out. No. Hey, Wombat. Oh my gosh, this is so good to see you. Frank, glad you're back. Daisy, here for part 2. Chris, thank you, Chris. Yes, please hit the like button and the subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And then the notification bell always helps. And then share these. These are important. These are the cases that we can really make an impact in, just raising awareness. So yes, so it's good to see you, Wombat. Chris, always thank you for being my mod. All right, now this is the I-65 killer who was caught like last year, April of last year. His victims were Vicky Heath, 41, Peggy Gill, 24, and Jean Ann Gilbert, 34. It is solved. He's deceased, though. His name is Harry Edward Greenwell. And this was the sketch of him. Remember the guy with the crazy green eye? And then this is Harry Greenwell at the time that these murders would have taken place, which was in, I think this is a new article. This was how they caught him. This is from his wife. So these are always kind of interesting to me to see for comparative reasons with other cases. And sorry, so many of these family members, they just like the media and social media, YouTube, especially podcasts, they treat them like they are the perpetrators when, like most of them have no clue. These types of personalities that do these killings, even if it's not serial, they are compartmentalizers, meaning they can just lock that right up in a little box and carry on and totally live a normal life, to where even a wife and a child would be none the wiser that their dad has an evil side. So his wife says she's lucky to be alive. Her name is Julie Jenkins. She's now 73. She was married to Harry Edward Greenwell for nearly 20 years until his death in 2013. 9 years later, she shares her shock at the news that Greenwell was behind the murders of 3 women in the 1980s, and probably more, and for sure one more that was a rape, and she survived against all odds, with Sheila Flynn. And this is the Independent. The wife of an alleged I-65 killer, Harry Edward Greenwell, feels lucky to be alive. She exclusively told The Independent on Wednesday. Julie Jenkins, 73, was married to Greenwell for 20 years and totally blindsided by the multi-agency press conference on Tuesday, naming her husband, who died in 2013, as the killer of at least 3 women along the Kentucky-Indiana border in the late 1980s. One thing that's going through my mind is that I guess I'm lucky to be alive, Ms. Jenkins, a grandmother now living in Minnesota, tells The Independent, adding that she'd previously been in a relationship with a man who was abusive and almost killed me, and then Greenwell decided he would kill other people. That's horrible. She said she is feeling pretty dazed. I keep thinking about our life together. Sorry, I just ate a bowl of stovetop stuffing, so I'm like having a little trouble. I keep thinking about our life together, and he was kind. He was caring. He did have a temper, but that's not unusual. I don't think you kill people because you're mad at them, not strangers. I don't know what to think about much of it, other than that I feel horrible for the families that dealt with that for so many years, and no, there's nothing I can do. I'm sorry. I had no idea. When asked about authorities' suspicion her husband could have more victims, Ms. Jenkins said it's certainly a possibility. When you know what you do as a serial killer, they generally don't just stop. So I pray that there aren't going to be more victims that he's linked to, but I fear there's a real possibility. I'm sorry for those people as well. It makes me not trust my judgment. According to authorities, Greenwell, who was 68 when he died, was identified through genealogical investigation in all three deaths along the Indiana-Kentucky border. This technique involves uploading a crime scene DNA profile to one or more genetic genealogy databases in an attempt to identify a criminal offender's genetic relatives and locate the offender within their family tree. Indiana State Police said in a Tuesday release, utilizing this process, a match was made to Greenwell with a close family member. Through this match, it was determined that the probability of Greenwell being the person responsible for the attacks was more than 99.99%. The first woman known to be his victim in I-65 was Vicki Heath, a 41-year-old mother of two. Had become engaged before she was found dead beside the trash cans behind the Super 8 motel in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. On 21st of February, 1987, she had been assaulted and shot twice in the head with a .38 caliber. The killer's second and third victims were both slain on the same day, March 3rd, 1989. Mary, who went by Peggy Gill, 24, a night auditor at a Days Inn motel in Maryville, Indiana, was found dead in the building's parking lot by a passing motorist. Jeannie Gilbert, 34, a mother of two, also worked at a part-time auditor at the Remington Days Inn, was also fatally shot with the same .22 caliber gun. The attacker had robbed both premises, making off with $426 in total. A fourth woman working the night shift at a Days Inn motel in Columbus, Indiana, was sexually assaulted and stabbed in 1990, but managed to escape the scene. The woman, named only as Jane Doe, gave police a composite sketch describing a man with a greasy gray hair and a lazy green eye and a beard. That sketch was the only clue for decades until DNA evidence linked Greenwell to the crimes. When Greenwell died in 2013, his obituary gave no inkling of his alleged sinister past. It describes him as a family man, a farmer, a do-gooder, and a generous soul after he died in Iowa falling to battle with cancer, writing he'd had many friends who loved his straight-up attitude and his willingness to help anyone. His spirit will live on in many by good deeds he offered. It continued years before he was named as a serial killer. Born in Louisville and one of more than a half a dozen siblings, several of whom have also passed away, Greenwell worked for the Canadian Pacific Railroad, providing public safety for 30 years before retiring in 2010, the obituary read. Harry enjoyed organic gardening, selling his organic produce at the local farmers market, traveling, reading, wordsmithing, avid college sports fan, and selecting winning thoroughbred horses. At the time of his death, he was married to Miss Jenkins, who had 3 adult children of her own. Greenwell had his own son and daughter, in addition to living siblings, nieces and nephews, great-nephews, and great-nieces. Quote, he loved to garden. He spent hours in the garden, Miss Jenkins tells The Independent, and he gathered everything and took it up to Albin on certain days and sold it to people. And he always figured that his biggest reason of taking it up to the farmer's market was to visit with everybody that came there. She says he sold everything that he grew: tomatoes, onions, carrots, beets, squash. Before his 2013 death, she says, they lived in a 3-bedroom farmhouse outside of Iowa, town of about 300 people, and the home looked out onto a state highway. Ms. Jenkins said that she had been contacted by an FBI agent earlier this year about Greenwell, who told her he had previously served time for robbery. She says he was completely flabbergasted by any suggestion he'd been involved in the murders of women. I can imagine this of Harry, she tells The Independent. And I said, he's been dead for so long already. What would the point be now? And he said, you don't think the families have a right to know? And absolutely they do. I wasn't even thinking of them at the time. I can't imagine what they've gone through all of these years, which is horrible in itself. She said she told the FBI where to find Greenwell's biological son. The alleged serial killer had been married twice previously, adopting one wife's daughter and fathering a son with the other. His first wife died in a house fire before Miss Jenkins met him at a Minnesota bar. It was very suspicious at first, because coming from an abusive relationship. So that's something to, remember. But he assured me that the death of his ex-wife was not the case. Miss Jenkins says, and of course I believed him. I guess I still do. He was off working at a railroad. I think it was in Wisconsin when it happened. She was in Wisconsin too, but they were across the state from each other. From what I remember, I do believe it was accidental or negligence on her part. I'd like to look into that. She had no reason, she says, to be wary of Greenwell at all. He was supportive through her battle with breast cancer and loving to her family. Despite his criminal history, she says, he just told me it existed and, I thought it was okay. People change. People change. Give them another chance. Everyone deserves another chance. And so you just give people a second chance. And okay, robbery, it's not cool, but he's paid his time. Greenwell, who was 4 years older than his third wife, seemed penitent. I can't say that word. I know I've had to use it my whole childhood. And he was dying with lung cancer, she says, though she had no idea about what exactly when he was in the hospice. So he was like really kind of wanting to like repent of something, like feeling really guilty about something when he was dying. He asked for a priest and the priest came, says Miss Jenkins, is unlike her husband, is not Catholic. I presumed it was for confession, but I doubt that he confessed this. I just assumed the priest would be obligated to tell somebody he did this if he did do this, though Catholic priests are forbidden from sharing anything told to them during the sacrosanct sacrament of confession. I could never be a priestess for that. My other thought was if he didn't confess, what was the point of confessing to anything else? Because that would have trumped anything. That after her initial contact with the FBI, she heard no more about her late husband's alleged crimes until this week's press conference. My son actually was aware of it at first. He called me home from work and opened it up for me to watch the news conference. I just felt horrible for those families that lost their mothers, their sisters, their children. And if I had known anything, if I had any inkling, I certainly would not have been silent about it, but I didn't. This is the criminal history of Harry. So let's see. Oh, fun. Look at this. February 23rd, 1960 arrived. He's arrested in Jefferson County, Kentucky for sodomy. January 17, 1963, arrested in Louisville, armed robbery. Again, 63, he's convicted and sentenced to 2 years reformatory, 5 years probation. 1969, he's paroled from Kentucky State Penitentiary. In 1978, Greenwell's wife died in a house fire in Vernon County, Wisconsin. I'm going to try to find some information on that. In August of 1980, Greenwell remarried in Henry County, Kentucky. In June of 1982, he was arrested in Vernon County for burglary, escaped custody twice, and recaptured. He was sentenced in August of 82 to Anamosa State Penitentiary in Iowa. February 21st, 1987 is when he murdered Lucille Vicky Heath at the Super 8 Motel. December of 83, he was released. So he's released in 83. What's going on right here? Kills her in 87. March 3rd, 89, the murder of Peggy Gill at the Days Inn. and the murder of Jeannie Gilbert at the Days Inn. Like literally, he like drove to one to the other, and it was terrible. Oh, it was awful. March 1989, he's arrested in La Crosse, Wisconsin, for a traffic violation. So that lets us know like what direction he was traveling from Remington, Indiana to Wisconsin. And then March 23rd of 89, arrested at La Crosse, Wisconsin for domestic incident, violated a restraining order in March and April, sentenced to 15 months probation for criminal trespass on April 18th, 1989. But just ignore criminal histories, for who you see fit for, Greeno. The January 2nd, 1980, the rape at the Days Inn clerk in Columbus, Indiana. And then this is where you're like, really? What was going on in here? October 11th of 1998, he's arrested in Allegheny County, Iowa for felony possession. November 13, 1998, arrested for a violation of a restraining order. In November 1998, the case was dismissed. And then he died in 2013. So he wasn't, unless he's restrained, it says domestic. So like, I guess that's what she means when she says like he got mad. Oh, what have I done? I don't know what I did. So she adds, it's terrifying, and my children feel the same way. I mean, I left them alone with him when I was at work. I live with my son and his family, and I have grandchildren who Harry thought was pretty special. They had a connection. She says that her 17-year-old granddaughter is pretty devastated about it. I told her last night, with the internet, you can't protect children anymore. So I figured she needed to hear it from me rather than anyone else. Friends and family have been suitably shocked, she adds, though she has not yet spoken to Greenwell's son, siblings, or extended family. I expect that I will reach out and discuss it with them as much as they would want to, but yesterday I just didn't have the energy. In addition, the reeling from the news, her foremost thoughts are with the families of the victims. I was kind of a sucker punch when the FBI contacted me. I thought, well, this can't be real. This can't be. But then that mentioned family has a right to know. And I thought, absolutely they do. So I did what I could to point them in the right direction. And then I didn't hear anymore. And then I almost forgot about it. I just want the families of the victims to know how sorry I am for what they've gone through. If there had been anything I would have known to alter the situation before this, I certainly would have done it. I don't know that they'd want to reach out to me for anything. I certainly would not be adverse to this happening. Of the avid, kind gardener she thought she'd married, she says, I guess you think you know somebody. I thought I knew him, but apparently I didn't know him very well. It's a very good article. So this was my Murder and Maniacs, where I covered the Boone County Jane Doe, which is one I've been following since way before I ever came onto podcast YouTube, and Victoria Harshman, which is my cousins all worked where she was murdered at. It was pretty crazy. And so Victoria Harshman, she was murdered on September 19th of 1991, and they worked there then too. So that's what was like so crazy. And there was this like holodome. I don't know if you guys remember the holodomes, where it was kind of like I don't know, our family, we would go there for vacations, and it would just be like my mom and like all of her siblings and all my cousins and stuff, and we would just like rent out like blocks of rooms and had like an indoor pool of golf and stuff like that. And my cousins ended up working in the front as like clerks. And so it was just really crazy. I believe one of my cousins was working there in 91. Because it was like generational. They worked there like generational, so yeah, it was a place that it's gone now and replaced with another hotel, but yeah, it was there for years. Quote, this was from American Crime Journal, Damian Moore. Check him out. Like American Crime Journal, he's pretty good. He does a lot of really good articles on true crime. This is a quote from there. It's also important to note that the murder of Victoria Harshman complicated things, and that murder has its own problems. However, her murder has been ruled out of the line of the I-65 killer. In fact, there are two suspects that have recently materialized. So that was kind of news. I could probably take a guess who those are. They were covered. I briefly covered them in my Victoria Harshman episode. But yeah, again, like not related to the I-65 killer, which, you just kind of think it was until you know more about the case. Like on the surface, because you have a woman in her, what was she, 36, so close to the same age as Vicky Heath. She's really gorgeous, and working at a it was a Holodome Inn, but within the time frame and in Indiana along I-65, like literally right off of I-65, which so were the other three, and not related, but there is a woman that it's pretty. There's a lot that lets you know. I think it's one of those that it's. I don't know what the holdup is. It's crazy. But these cases, Boone County, Jane Doe, and Victoria were in the same county. This is Lebanon, Indiana. And the tip line is by phone. No one's going to send them a letter, but there it is if you want to. And by phone, you can reach them at 765-482-8836. So now we move on to Margaret and Sniegowski, 17, from Toledo, Ohio, and she is the Boone County Jane Doe. She's been identified, but the case is still unsolved. This is one that I'm pretty sure it's like his name is Detective Beard. Like I have sent him so many UPs, like MPs for her UP in NamUs. It's not even funny, but he's always so kind as to like let me know. Like one, he was like, wow, like that one was really, like it really looked like a possibility, but I can't remember what was in the match, but it didn't. I thought I found her. I don't know. This was probably like 5 or 6 years ago. So that they have identified her, and so many people just assumed that Margaret was just like, left right off of I-65, kind of like just like a drive-by, like she wasn't fully clothed. And I think a lot of people wrote her off as just like a transient prostitute, likely picked up by a trucker, when in all reality, this is Margaret, like on May 3rd, 1992, Boone County Jane Doe was discovered by a farmer while he was tending to his crops. She was at the bottom of a hill near an entrance ramp on Interstate 65 in Lebanon, Indiana. The young woman's body was only wearing a light green or yellow tank top and a light green socks. Because of her state of decomposition, her cause of death could not be determined, but because of the circumstances in which she was disposed of, detectives are sure that foul play was involved. I'm sorry. And you ever get that after you eat? I always get yawny after I eat. Or reading. Was involved in Jane Doe's death. And this quote is from the True Crime Report by Kaya, and it was on May 29th of 2023. And if you have any information concerning this person, please contact your local FBI office or the nearest American embassy or consulate. Submit an anonymous tip online for Margaret. 92. So, I guess you kind of gotta wonder if it could be old Harry. And then we come to Cairo Jordan, the Las Vegas boy doe, 5 years old. He was identified. The case is solved. Dawn Coleman has been adjudicated. She pled guilty. And the mother of this precious little boy, DeJuan Ludi Anderson, she's still at large, which is kind of crazy to me that they haven't caught this woman. There she is. There's the mother, the mommy dearest. This is Dawn. She's out. That was so crazy reading about what they thought. I mean, just this little boy's last days were horrendous. I mean, these two were just absolutely crazy monsters. It was on April 16th, 2022 in Washington County, Indiana. The remains of an unidentified boy were found inside a Las Vegas-style suitcase by mushroom hunters. He was the victim of homicide. 6 months later, he was identified as Cairo Jordan. Dawn Coleman and Cairo's mother, DeJuan Anderson, had killed the boy because they alleged he was possessed. In my opinion, it's their excuse for the abuse. I mean, it is just the most bizarre. Yeah, I've done a few episodes on this one because it's just so crazy. Dawn pled guilty in November of 2023 to conspiracy to commit murder. She received a 25-year sentence. I'm sorry. I'm not even tired. I don't know what's going on. Of 5 years probation. And she will have to testify against Anderson whenever she's found. So we just want to look at this so you can see some pictures of the lovely Miss Anderson. Ugh. I thought it was in here. I missed it? Oh, that's her. That's one of the pictures of her. She's known to wear wigs and change her look. That's Dawn. She's batshit. Not to wear diminished capacity to you know what you're doing, she's just her idea, her belief system. Find her freaking Instagram. Because she goes live on there. Dawn Coleman. I don't know what her name is on there, but whoa, nuts. I thought for some, well. So anyone with information regarding this, especially anyone with information on Anderson's whereabouts, is asked to call 911 or the nationwide toll-free tip line at 1-888-437-6432. And the next one that I covered was Abigail Williams. She was 13, and Liberty German, 14. It is solved. It is in the process of adjudication against Richard Allen. These are some of the thumbnails I've made for Abby and Libby. On February 13th of 2017, Abby and Libby were dropped off at the Mary Gerard Trail in Delphi, Indiana, County of Carroll. Libby took 2 photos on the Monon High Bridge, as well as a video of their killer approaching them on the bridge. This man was identified as Richard Allen. He was arrested on October 26 of 2022 and charged with 2 counts of murder. This case has been a roller coaster from day one and continues to be so to date. Allen is set for a 14-day trial starting October 15th, 2024 at 9 a.m. And at the end of the day, that's it. Like this is in the hands of the courts, you know? Like I like to talk about it as well, but like there's nothing more, nothing less than what I wrote right there, you know? And remembering Abby and Libby. That's it definitely been forgot in all of this ridiculousness that's been going on with the Delphi case. And it's just very sad. And I just wish people would just kind of move on. You know, there's so many other cases. But again, you know, you look, there's 11. If I had a hashtag Delphi and talked about Delphi all night, there'd be, you know, probably 60. But give the families a rest, you know, like we can't do anything. It's scary what's all going on, but like at the end of the day, like we have to let the judicial system take its due course, you know, and if this goes to trial, then we have to trust in that same system and the jury. Or if he were to plead guilty, then, you know, like people have to be willing to accept that sometimes it's Occam's razor, most all the time, you know. And whether someone else is involved or not, like I highly doubt, just like no one knew, and I don't care who they say nobody knew about Richard Allen. Not one single Facebook group, not anyone on YouTube or podcast in the major media. Nobody knew about Richard Allen. So if you think about like if there is someone else involved, I highly doubt we're going to be the ones to find that person. You know, it's just super. It's sad, and like so many people don't understand like what they do can literally like you're overstepping your like have some morals, you know, like how horrible would it be for a case to be like if something like Julie Melvin, when she was accusing Dr. Kors of going around and saying all that stuff, like Dr. Kors is going to be testifying under oath in front of a jury, you know, he's going to be cross-examined. And what if what crazy Julie Melvin said, because she did work there, so it's like, oh, well, she probably did know him, but, you know, she's absolutely a liar. She's lied about so much stuff. But what if the jury hears that and then they don't trust his character, the integrity of Dr. Kors or his staff for that matter, for what her and Meryl Ashby did, you know, and putting all that stuff out there. Some stuff we don't deserve to know. We don't have a right to know. Like, it's so frustrating with Delphi. And our last one for tonight. This is Miss Kaylene Oehling. She was 20 years old. Her remains have been found and it is still unsolved. So that is questionable. Hello, Professor Pug. Good to see you. Hey, Ray. Good to see you, dude. Hey, Grandma Saurus. How's it going? Hey, Dustin. Hey, how's it going, Divided Kingdom? Haven't seen you in a while. Rabbit, hello. Nice to see you. Oh, thank you, Rabbit. And at what you do. Glad that Ray's case changed. Wow. Yeah, me too. Murdered. Oh, hello. How are you doing? Murdered Kaylene Oehling. He married way too fast in my eyes after the death of his wife in the so-called accidental house fire. Yeah, he might have been somewhere else. But of course, there's always having someone doing it for you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's good to have you in here. Is this Jason? Yeah, she is a creepy lady. She's just, yeah, she's like Professor Pug said, she's pathetic. Whoever trusts Julie Melvin and Anthony Garino are nutso. Yeah, they really are. Okay, so this is the beautiful, I mean, like, how freaking gorgeous is Kaylene? Like, she's just striking. She, and there's in terms to this case, like, and that's one of the things that you're just like mind is blown by, like with Kaylene, with like Olivia, which we'll get to later, with like some of the other cases that I've covered are just like Cairo, like media coverage, but nothing like what we see with like Delphi or Vallow or, Watts, or it's like, what makes Kate some cases just like take off when these cases have all of the elements? Like there's so many things to follow in Kaylene's case where you're just like, hello, like, hello. Oh, so it's not rocket science and what happened here. I'll read some here in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself because I get upset. She was 20 when she left her friend's house in Millvale, Pennsylvania, on the evening of January 9th, 2020, to meet her ex-boyfriend, Michael Mano. Go ahead and look up his history. Oh, this guy. And then, like, everybody's like, oh, what, Rex Heuermann, the Long Island serial killer who taunted the younger sister of one of his victims that he murdered, the serial killer, Rex Heuermann. Yeah, Michael Mano did that too, to the younger sister of Kaylene. Like, come on. Anyways, she contacted her mother around 1:30 a.m. on the 10th, and she did not show up to babysit as planned. Her mother filed a missing persons report later that day. Michael Mano was given a plea deal for the corruption of a minor. This is Kaylene's little sister, when he sent explicit photos of Kaylene to her 17-year-old sister. He was given 1 year to 6 months and probation. On February 27th and on February 27th and 28th, this is another one that'll make you mad, of 23, her remains were discovered on Washington Boulevard hillside in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I have it on my map, but and that's in Lincoln, Leamington, Belmar neighborhood. Why did they go several times? Because they did not collect all of Kaylene's remains, and the family found one of her bones, quite a large bone, when they went to leave flowers on a spot that they were given permission, and the scene was, they were finished with the scene. The family asked, it's Jason, right? Yes. This is on a Facebook Live, and like, it broke my heart. I was so pissed. He's there with, I know, at least one daughter. I'm pretty sure there was maybe another, I think there was more than just him and the one daughter, but they go to put flowers where her body was finally found. Not because they were out like actively searching, like the police anyway. But like a lot of these, they're found, by happenstance. And thank God Kaylene's body was found. And you would think that after her body was found, Michael Mano the alleged killer of her, would have been charged, but no, he has not been. So this Facebook Live is them going to, if I'm remembering it correctly, feel like it's etched in there, to the area, and they find it would Jason. I mean, yeah, forearm and shoulder bone, shoulder and forearm. Okay, like. I'm probably close to, Kaylene's probably a little skinnier and taller than me, but I'm probably pretty close to Kaylene's size. Like a forearm bone. Like, and it was right there. Like, it's not like they were digging around. Like, they literally went to put flowers, and this poor little girl, in my opinion, any child, they're, your kids are your kids forever. I know she's grown now, but like still a child, like has to find their loved one, like that a dad has to, like that a dad finds his daughter's bones. I'm sure Jason would have been, if the circumstances were, say they were out on a search, which he has done above and beyond searching and trying to raise attention for his daughter, just like Miss Denise. And if he had found his daughter, initially found his daughter, but that's not the case. They were out there at the scene, and they missed a forearm and shoulder bone, and told the family, "Oh, we're done. You can go. If you want to go put flowers, go ahead." And or they go to put flowers, and they have to find that. Like, think about that. Like, how fucked up is that? Like, and have to call them, be like, "You didn't even get all of my daughter. Like, you piece of shit. You didn't even like do a thorough job at the scene." Like, I hope they're helping him more, but like that, the emotion in that was just like so intense. I have in the description of this live is the Facebook group and the page for Kaylene and the foundation. So you go to that Facebook group. I don't know if the live is still up, but like, I wish more people would cover this case, because this is one like Rosemary Rodriguez that I just covered. This is a no-brainer case. And think about that. Rex Heuermann, he didn't even do as bad as Michael Manno, like that was a part of his modus operandi. His like signature was that taunting of the family members. Like, can you imagine this Michael guy sends explicit photos of Kaylene after she's missing, after they've been like, "Where is my daughter? What did you do to my sister?" He sends her younger sister explicit images of her. Like, okay, sorry. It's just a really frustrating one, And then, so this is a recent, since I covered it, a recent coverage, and this is by WTAE, Lily Coleman. This was on February of 2023. The father is still pleading for answers. Yeah. As soon as I get done with this, I'm going to pull up your comments, Jason, and we're going to talk about them. I'm just going anywhere. Father of Kaylene Oehling still pleading for answers. Oh, I wish I would go back to that. I'm pretty sure that's the tree in the Facebook. I can't watch any videos. It's like takes my lives down. I don't know how other channels play videos. I bet something will happen because of the one I played in the last one. It's so frustrating. I thought you could do that, like you talk about it, like it's like fair use or whatever. But nearly 4 years after Kaylene Oehling was first reported missing, her father is continuing to call attention to her case. On Thursday, Jason Oehling and family members gathered in the parking lot of the Allegheny County Police Headquarters, hoping to bring awareness to Kaylene's case. I'm not going anywhere, said Jason Oehling. There still has not been an arrest yet. 20-year-old Kaylene Oehling was first reported missing in January 2020. In March of this year, police identified remains found along Washington Boulevard as Kaylene Oehling's. Oehling says he was told by detectives that there was a person of interest in this case. The Allegheny County Police Department told Pittsburgh Action 4 News that they presented findings in this case to the district attorney's office for review. Do we have a grand jury? How about that? They could not comment on specifics, saying the case remains open and active. It's 2024 now, Allegheny. I hope I'm saying that right, Jason. Allegheny's Oehling says his frustration is not directed at detectives, but rather at the district attorney's office. Yeah. The police department has been doing everything that the district attorney's office has asked them to do, said Jason. And each time they do it, they give them more stuff to do. Is hopeful that answers will come soon, saying he's confident that there is some movement in his daughter's case. Until then, he has vowed to continue to bring attention to Kaylene's case while calling for action in other missing persons cases as well. And he has been doing that. Pittsburgh Action 4 reached out to district attorney's office for an update on the status of Kaylene's case. The spokesman released the following statement. Kaylene Oehling was reported missing on January 12, 2020. More than 3 years later, in March of this year, Miss Oehling's body was discovered near Washington Boulevard in Lincoln, Leamington, Belmar. This discovery, of course, was devastating for her family, and we have the deepest sympathy for their loss. The decision whether to file criminal charges in a missing persons case in which a body is discovered after several years has passed must be approached carefully and methodically. The family will be justifiably passionate about obtaining justice for their loved one as soon as possible. However, we must proceed deliberately in order to ensure that there is sufficient admissible evidence to not just identify a suspect, but also that there is a sufficient admissible evidence to link that suspect to criminal acts that resulted in the death of the victim. There can be no rush to judgment or arrest. There is an ongoing investigation with county detectives actively working with attorneys in our office. The district attorney will continue to confer with the county superintendent. However, details of an ongoing active investigation cannot be discussed. Yeah. So this was in February. Was it February? So last year. No, that was the last one. That was the last article that I could find. And again, Allegheny, I hope I'm saying that right. County Police TipLine is 1-833 all tips. 1-833 all tips. 1-833-255-8477. And again, the Facebook group and the foundation is in the links for those are in the description. Please go and show your support to Kaylene's family. And that is where we are going to stop for tonight. So we got through how many more? six more. So, hey, Johnny. Yeah. Aw, you've been a member for 20 months? Wow. Proud supporter of Cold Truth. Like, subscribe, and share this awesome channel who advocates for victims and reveals real criminals. Well, thank you, Professor Pug. No. Mano sent me the picture of Kaylene first, actually. Wow, what a scumbag. That was Mano's fourth conviction of corruption of minors. Wow. What's his criminal history as far as like domestic? I feel like I looked it up when I did her episode last time, but I can't remember. I thought he had kind of a history of this types of behaviors. Yeah, he really is. Yeah. Yeah. Did you see that comment? Like, he said the reason why I went live is what they tried to pull. The coroner's office first said they were animal bones until I told them I had it live. Then they examined the bones and we found 2 bones. Wow. But wasn't it that you like went like, yeah, like you, but I thought, or they tried to tell you that what you found wasn't her, even though they had just found her there? I'm confused now. Yes. Hey, Monica. And yeah, I've got Peggy Chapel, and you know as well as I do, there hasn't been anything for Peggy or yeah. The police was Pittsburgh Police Zone 5. I called 911 before I went live. Oh, yeah, I knew that you had. Yeah, he is Chris. Remember, Kaylene's remains were found within 29 feet of Michael Mannel's father's abandoned land. Wow. Hello, Johnny. That site has everything still on it. I still post daily. Yes, you do. And it does. It has a lot more than just Kaylene, you know, like he's really a huge advocate now for so many families that are, you know, no one wants to be in their shoes. No one wants to be in this club that they all find themselves in, you know, like it's your worst nightmare type of club, you know, not that, you know, murdered, that's a club, but like you're a rare, you know, to share that in common and to pay it forward like that and try to help others is just, like I said, I've said it 100 times. I don't know. I don't know that I would get up. I don't know that I'd ever get out of bed, you know, like, so when you see parents and loved ones not only get up, but fight with everything that they have and then go on to fight for other families and create foundations and like really make a difference in the world. They never asked to be there and they never want to be there, but yet, you know, just family after family is able to they just have all my respect. They're the true heroes that don't want to be, you know, like they'd give anything not to be. It's very sad. Okay, so the bones were found by the coroner's office at first. I tried saying myself and my other daughter did not find Kay's remains. They changed their story when I said it was live. Oh. Oh yeah. Arson, statutory sexual assault, etc. They're all his convictions in just the state of Pennsylvania. And again, that criminal history, we've talked about it time and time again. My channel is a huge, that's a huge passion, you know. My friend Angie Warnock, these criminal histories, these habitual, look at what we just read about old Harry, you know, sodomy, he's got robbery and like all of these things. And when you put them all in order and like the criminal history, it does lead you down a path, the path of like Occam's razor, you know. So for other states, oh my gosh. Yeah, it really is. Monica, you should definitely join. And again, the links are in the description for the groups. You should join his Facebook group and page. And CJ, Beyond the Rainbow. I just saw a post from Jason that I don't know the other. I feel like I do. Cordy Ball. Like I know that name. It didn't have the name of her, but I feel like I do know her too. But I know CJ and I love CJ. Like remember when me and CJ had Beyond the Cold Truth on Get Vocal? We did that together. That was so much fun. I mean, it was hard work. And like, we were both like, by the time, you know, the pandemic was over, like, I can't do this and my podcast. And she was like, I can't do this and my podcast, but I miss her. And she is a great person and a great podcaster and a great researcher. So I was glad to see that she's going to be or has covered this case. Yeah, criminal history does lead to other things. It sure does. It sure does. But I appreciate you all being here tonight. And part 3. So you saw the thumbnail for this live. I have 2 more of those. Not even finished with the cases on this thumbnail. So I've like 2 more full thumbnails plus the rest on this thumbnail. So you're probably gonna, I don't know. I'm gonna try to go live tomorrow. I've got to figure out what if I'm working. I've got to go. I got so much to do this week. It's ridiculous. But I really want to get it. I really want to get this done before I go to Colorado. So I'm going to try to go live tomorrow, but I don't ever make any promises because, you know, like I can't do that. But we're going to get through this one way or the other. We're going to get through all these episodes. And I really appreciate you all being here. And thank you for your support. And thank you. Please like, you know, share, subscribe if you're not subscribed. And I hope you all have a great night. And good to see you sneak in there, Pigs Fly. Good to see you. Oh, you're welcome, Jason. Anything I could do to help. Hope, good to see you. And I will talk to you guys all later. Have a good one.